I've got no socks on. I think it must be because I was thinking about yesterday. And yesterday I was at Kabul and with Mew and with Nat and Selene, and we did something that I hadn't done in years, and that was we had a picnic actually on the beach. Yes, sitting on the sand with a little blanket. Never had, well, not never, I haven't had a picnic on the beach since forever, because every time I've ever sat on a beach, particularly in the UK, the wind's been whistling away and I've had a mouthful and a face full of sand, and the sandwiches weren't very enjoyable. But yesterday we didn't actually have sandwiches, egg sandwiches in particular. That sticks in my mind from when I was a kid. We just had a nice dry picnic, you know, sort of like well, we had a bit of cheese and a few crackers. Can't beat cheese and crackers. Something really struck me when I was on the beach. I really made myself engaged and present in the moment, and little Selene in French was like asking me to help her with her little bucket and spade. So while Mew and Nat went off for a walk, I was on the beach digging a hole and making sandcastles or sandfish and sand heads, putting shells and things for them to start the eyes and the ears and the nose and the moustache, and little eyes on the fish that I made, and just dug a hole, really, you know, just helping the kid. But do you know what? I know it sounds really stupid, but I found it really cathartic and I found it really enjoyable. I really liked digging a hole in the sand. I mean, bloody hell. It made me think a lot about life and the enjoyment of life, and how life throws you curveballs, which sometimes they hit you and sometimes you manage to dodge them, and sometimes those curveballs might have been thrown from 30, 40 years ago. So you don't even know that they're in the trajectory, you don't even know that they're on their way, and suddenly they whack, they hit you straight in the face. And that's really been brought home to me over the last week with a good friend of mine, who I'm going to reference her channel actually on this YouTube video, who discovered something quite traumatic. And it's not my story to tell, but when I received her video message, it stood me in I stood still in my tracks. When I received her video message, it absolutely floored me, and I sort of, no word of a lie, I just dropped to my knees and started to cry. I cried at the shock of it, and cried with her, and I didn't know what to say, apart from to send her a message back to say that I loved her, and I think she's amazing. And she's someone there've been some real key people in my life, and from way back, from the age of about 12, 13 years old, she was a massive, way back from the age of about 12, 13 years old, she was my teacher, and she was absolutely fantastic. Blonde hair, I'm sure that's why I had bleached blonde hair when I was growing. So from the age of 19, hills, bleached blonde hair. In fact, I pretty much had, on and off, I had bleached blonde hair right up until I was about 48. That's a long fucking influence, isn't it? Excuse my language. And then I realised I didn't have to bleach my hair anymore, because my hair's absolutely white now. Anyway, she was a fantastic influence on my life, and she also went on herself to have the most amazing, fantastic, could write a book about it that you wouldn't believe, that she's had such a fantastic life. But she although I didn't kind of go down any artistic path, she was just a real big factor in my life, for someone who had such a go get 'em and a fuck 'em all attitude to life, and you know, she knew people, bands and things. You know, when I was young, she knew people in these bands, and I thought, wow, you know, this person's incredible, this lady's incredible. And so her life has turned out to is incredible, and still is being incredible. And we met up some 30 years later. So we've now known each other for over 40 years, but some 30 years later we met up, and she was living in Rome and allowed me to go and visit Rome for several really nice short breaks, which were really enjoyable for many, many reasons. Number one, I love art, and she took me to see so many Caravaggios. It was just like fantastic. That was one of my amazing trips with that we did. But the thing that I remember most, both of us had not given up smoking at that point. Now one wonders whether one should have never smoked, actually, because I think I am suffering ill health, and was that caused by smoking? I don't know, but it probably didn't help. And maybe the same for Hills. But the moment that sticks out on all my visits to Rome was sitting one night on a blanket. She'd carry a blanket around. She carries a blanket around, and we sat outside the Colosseum. Must have been midnight. We just had a meal. Had been walking around Rome, and we put a blanket on one of the sort of like concrete blocks on the road opposite the Colosseum, and we just sat there, just chatting about life and having a cigarette or two or three, and sitting there looking at the Colosseum. And there have been various instances in my life where I can think of situations like that, but I felt, I know it sounds strange, and maybe she doesn't even remember us doing it, but that was like a real in the moment for me. And I just thought, how amazing to be sitting in a beautiful city with someone who's beautiful and who has had a beautiful influence on your life, and you're sitting looking at this amazingly beautiful, if not horrific for what happened inside it, building, midnight, just passing the time of day. It was kind of like one of those wistfully things. And that's how I felt a bit on the beach yesterday. I felt kind of like I was in the present, and I was being wistful, and I was passing the time of day in a nice calm way with a little 10-year-old French kid digging a hole in the sand. I don't know why, but for me it really meant a lot. And I guess one of the purposes of this video is really to say that I was incredibly shocked by the news, and I've been thinking a lot about things subsequently. I could hardly function that day, so distracted was I by the news. And I kind of think to myself that, you know, like I say, you can't see always when these curveballs are coming. And you know when people sort of like say, oh, you got to live every day like it's your last, or you know, you got to find happiness in every single moment, and you know, you can't waste time, and blah, blah, blah. And I agree, you can't waste time, and you got to be productive, but you got to stop, and you got to have those wistful and reflective and melancholic moments as well. And I think what's really important is to value people, value yourself, and try and have some fantastic experiences in your life. And that doesn't mean to say you have to travel the world. I mean, I've travelled a lot of the world, but some of my most amazing experiences have really not had anything to do with travel, and they might just be an observation, or a book that I've read, or some music that I've listened to, or someone that I've spoken to, even in passing, on a business trip, or in a bar, or you observe things in life, or you see a painting or a picture or a photograph, or you walk up a mountain, or maybe if not a mountain, you walk up a little hill and you take a view over a valley, or you hold someone's hand, or you give them a hug, or you smile and you laugh with friends, or you cry with friends, you talk about things with friends or family that have meaning. And yeah, you can't do that, let's live every bit of life like it's, your last day on earth, because it's an impossibility. And it's shit when people tell you that. It's absolute rubbish. But I think the main thing to do is to think to yourself, I know I've lived a life. I've lived a life. I'm living a life. I've lived a life. I think that's a really good takeaway. Anyway, I don't want to be morbid and I don't want to be waffling on, but I think hearing that news, it, like I said, it was a bit of a shock. It was a real shock. I know several people that have been thrown some real weird curveballs over this pandemic, which have come out of nowhere, and fucking tragic they are as well. But the human spirit is an amazing thing, eh? We soldier on. We soldier on in the face of everything. We just keep on marching. We keep going, keep going, keep going. That's just keep going. Just keep going. I think I need to put some socks on my feet. Really bloody cold. Recycled socks that Muriel bought me.